Welcome to another S&P Futures day trading recap where I'm showing all my Apex account balances for full transparency. Apex is currently having its biggest sale yet. From now until October 5th, you can sign up for your own Apex account with my link in the description and use my coupon code for 90% off all evaluation accounts. A lot has happened since my last trade recap video, but to keep it short, I've decided to stop trading my eval accounts and start trading my performance accounts again. My Man vs. Machine challenge taught me that discretion is the key differentiator between human trading and algo trading, and if I wasn't using discretion in my trading, I really was better off just using a trading bot. So I'm incorporating more discretion in my trading now, as you'll see in this trade recap. I mostly still look for my favorite setup, the liquidity for grabs or LFG setup, but I'm becoming more comfortable sizing in and managing risk, which is ultimately what I find to be the most important aspect of consistent profitability. I do still consider reward to risk when determining my profit targets, and generally try to go for around 1-to-1, but I personally agree with Al Brooks that reward to risk ratios and probability of success are inversely related. The better your reward to risk is, the more likely you are to get stopped out, and the lower your reward to risk is, the higher chance to hit your target. So I don't have a strict reward to risk requirement anymore, especially since when I start scaling in with multiple contracts and leaving runners, it becomes very difficult to track your true reward to risk ratio of the trade. With that said, let's get into today's trades. The first trade is a good example of having my LFG setup frame the trade, but using discretion to determine profit targets and manage risk. I placed two different limit buy orders within two different sell-side liquidity pools, as I expected these short-term sell stop orders to get hunted before another broader leg up. As each order got filled, I adjusted my profit targets so that it was about 1-to-1 with where my stop loss was. As the trade developed and I saw the reversal I was looking for, I moved my stop loss below the most recent pivot point and adjusted my profit target accordingly. Since I'm using micros here, my max loss on this trade was always managed, and at no point was it ever out of hand. This smaller trade sizing also gives me the flexibility to size in and take partials as price action develops. In this particular trade, when things start to look even more bullish, I put another limit buy order, which never got filled, and also split my take profit orders into two batches, with one at my 1-to-1 reward to risk level, and the other at the next buy side liquidity pool level. Thankfully, both my profit targets hit, and I start the day off with a solid win on my largest account. Since this one's already over the withdrawal threshold, I'll only be taking a single trade per day to meet the trading day requirements. Price actually drops further after I exited the last trade. All its higher time frames still looked bullish, so I decided to take another shot long using the same setup. Once again, I sized in at the lower liquidity pool and adjusted my stop loss once price seemed to find support. As the trade developed, it became clear that sellers were gaining control, and the higher time frame bullish continuation I was looking for was less likely to happen. When price got within one tick of my stop loss and then gave me the chance to exit at break even, I gladly took it without hesitation. I knew there was still a chance for price to go up to hit my profit target without me, which would suck, but at that point in time, my bullish thesis just didn't seem to be valid anymore. Okay, this trade, as you'll see, is very hectic, with many contract adds and partial profits. I won't go into detail on each decision to add or take partials, but the gist of it was I was expecting any attempts to reverse the strong bear trend to fail. So I sized in at various points on the reversal attempt upwards and took partial profits on the way down. I was prepared to size in multiple times, so I used micros, and once again, when price finally hit resistance and started to reverse, I moved my stop loss down to the key pivot point and set my various profit-taking levels with my final runner target at the low of day. I actually then left to go eat lunch, knowing that even if it got stopped out here, the loss would be manageable. Thankfully, I returned from lunch to some great news, as price did indeed continue dumping through the low of day, and all my profit targets were hit. After all this trade management, in total this trade actually only netted me $52, which was unexpectedly low. My overall reward to risk on this trade was definitely less than 1-to-1, and I know some traders would not consider this to be worth it, but for me it was good experience using discretion to manage risk and take partials. It also logged a positive trading day on this account, so now it's on to another one. I get another great LFG setup when price once again tries to reverse the strong bearish momentum on the day, and I try to fade this reversal attempt at an internal buy-side liquidity pool. Things look extremely promising at one point, and I honestly get a little greedy here. As I have in the previous LFG trades, I adjust my stop loss after I get the reversal I was looking for, But this time I decided not to adjust my profit target accordingly because things were looking good and it was looking like my original profit target was going to get hit. Had I adjusted the profit target, I would have scalped out for a small profit, but since I didn't follow the plan, I ended up paying for it. When price starts bouncing back up, I briefly decide to move my stop loss back to where it originally was, but ultimately decide to just take the L, and I get stopped out for my first loss of the day. So it might have been a little tilted from this loss, but I actually identify another higher time frame LFG setup on the 15-minute chart, and decide to take another shot at it, going for a bigger move. My mistake here was being too hasty and hopping back in, and I didn't fully consider my risk on this larger trade. Since my stop loss based on this higher time frame setup was much further away, I should have taken this trade with micros, not minis. When I realized this, I should have exited immediately, but it felt bad taking a loss, especially when I truly thought that this was a valid setup. So I decided to risk it all here. I set my limit sells to size in at liquidity pools that were further up, fully knowing that if price did retrace all the way back up, I would lose the account. This is absolutely not the right way to trade, and an example of horrible risk management, but it is what it is. Thankfully, my trade thesis plays out, and price does finally start dumping after grabbing enough liquidity. I knew I was way oversized on this trade, so I was pretty stressed, and decided to take profits quickly on the flush down. Coincidentally, it did end up being about a 1-to-1 reward to risk had I moved my stop loss to the new pivot high. It looked like bulls were finally gaining control late in the afternoon, and my LFG setup presented itself once again, this time going long. After the stress of the last trade, I had really meant to take this one with micros, but accidentally took it with minis. I didn't initially realize this, as after I entered, I started working on some day job stuff. When I came back to the charts and saw that I was in minis but in profit, I immediately lowered my profit target to get out of the trade as soon as possible, and scalped out for a quick win. I was pretty disappointed in myself for accidentally trading minis instead of micros here, as I had done the same thing yesterday when I was trading on my phone, which led to me blowing up another performance account, and I took this screw up as a sign to stop trading for the day. So as you can see here, that last trade where I exited early would have played in my favor, and even though I didn't hold until the original profit target, it still boosted my confidence in my LFG setup, which has become my go-to entry model. As shown by today's trades, I'm now viewing this setup as more of an overall framework to provide a trade thesis than a strict set of entry requirements that must be followed in every single trade. I've been allowing for more discretion when trading, as I've learned that some level of subjectivity is necessary to adapt to changing market conditions. The only strict rule that must be followed at all costs is risk management. Being able to limit your max risk is still one of the most important aspects to consistent profitability, and as you saw today, this is an area that I'm still working on. I'm going to start trading smaller size with micros and sizing in and taking partials depending on how price develops. For my performance accounts that are over the drawdown threshold, I'll also be setting more aggressive profit targets for runners during strong trends. Here's where all my performance accounts are currently at. As shared in one of my daily community tab posts, I lost one PA, but I've gotten 2 of them over the withdrawal threshold, and I'm working on growing the others responsibly. With Apex's 10-day minimum trading day requirement and their consistency rules, it just doesn't make sense to try to grow them too aggressively, because if you hit your target in one day using an aggressive style of trading, you'll need to continue trading that way for the entire 10 days to qualify for withdrawal, which makes it very likely to blow the account. I think I'm going to try to just go for one good trade a day on each performance account and limit my max daily loss per account to $500. I've already set up this loss limit in Rhythmic, so hopefully this safeguard could help me keep these PAs alive for long enough to make withdrawals. As always, thanks for watching. Please leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and subscribe so you're notified of the next time I post a trade recap. In the meantime, I'll continue posting daily profit and loss updates in my channel's community tab.